Hey guys, it's April Henry. Sorry I'm late. I don't know what happened. It's not like I don't have oodles and oodles of endless time. Although, actually, part of what happened was that I was writing and it was going pretty well. Um, I use an app called Freedom to turn off the internet, and then I have some notes that I have collected over the years about what a scene needs, and I paste those all into my new chapter, and then I'll go through it and I'll start using those to help me build the chapter. So, welcome to my 19th Facebook Live. You can watch all my previous ones on my website, aprilhenry.com, or on my YouTube channel, which is also called April Henry. My plan is to do this every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time until I run out of topics. So, one thing I was thinking about today was that Turkish get ups are getting easier. I've always resisted doing Turkish get ups, which is a horrible exercise where you lie flat on your back, hold a weight directly over your head, and then get up without using that hand. And I've always been terrible at them, which I felt was a sign that I should not be doing them. But I decided to challenge myself. I started doing them, and they're getting easier. And I realized maybe the answer to something being hard isn't that you should give up. It's that you should do it more. So I've also been thinking there's an old saying, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. In other words, don't let your dream of how something should turn out be the enemy of you trying anything at all. And right now, I think we should not let the pretty bad be the enemy of the terrible. I think any writing we're doing right now is a bonus. So today I'm going to be talking about editing your book as you get it ready to submit to somebody. Tomorrow I'll be doing an Ask Me Anything, so if you have any questions, ask them now and I will get to them tomorrow. So there's basically 3 steps to editing your book. One is basically proofreading for spelling and grammar, and most computer programs will do a pretty good version of that for you. But remember, fixing it is not your editor's job. I talked to a teenage writer recently who was a good writer, but she couldn't be bothered with spelling or grammatical mistakes because she felt that was her editor's job. No, it isn't. In fact, that kind of stuff is going to turn off an editor and they won't ever buy your book if it's got a bunch of mistakes in it. The second thing to check for is style and technique, and the third is to check for the story structure. Today I'm mostly talking about style and technique. It's kind of hard to critique structure, but one of my biggest tools for making my book better or my story better is to read it out loud. You will hear clunky passages, missing words, and just in general, things that are wrong with your book. So read it aloud. If you have a kid, you can get to sit still, and it doesn't matter how old they are or someone else that you can read to. Even reading to a dog or a cat will change the way it feels. Maybe tape record yourself reading and then listen to it. Have someone else read your work aloud and listen to how they read it. One thing that has really worked for me in the last few years is computers have gained more features for accessibility. Most programs will read to you. They have a button that you can press to have it read to you. So I have my Mac computer read to me. I use the voice called Samantha, and I have her read pretty fast. And then I just kind of close my eyes and listen to it. And listening to her, I mean, she's a bit monotone, but it helps me see things that are wrong. Oh, and I just realized I forgot to show you guys my latest t-shirt. It's Let's Summon Demons, which we need to do something, obviously, and maybe demons isn't a bad idea. So here are some common mistakes that editors see when they're looking at your book, editors and agents. The first is nothing happens. Maybe the whole first chapter could be cut because there's no major action. Ask yourself, what happens in this chapter? Is there conflict? Is there any tension? Another reason things get rejected or that they need work is that the voice is flat. It's monotone. It's uninteresting. Does reading a text aloud make you use interesting variations in pitches, tones? Does it stop and start? When you're reading aloud, think to yourself, is this all one monotone or are there variations in it? Another thing that you need to have is to have everything be consistent. If you are reading it and logical, if someone's reading it and they think, no, that's not how that works, I don't think it would work that way, that's another thing that your editor is going to be looking for, and it might be a reason that you're going to get rejected. There is no excuse for not doing your research now. The internet has made it super easy to figure things out. Even in books I like, I will see mistakes of how things work. So, and sometimes it's that you don't know that what you saw on TV isn't right. So, but if you're not certain, always Google to see if what you're thinking is how it works is really how it works. Backstory is another thing that you need to get out of the beginning of your book. Don't put backstory in your first chapter. Give us an active scene with a character in motion and wanting something. It doesn't have to be the major goal of the book, but it does mean that the character needs to want something, and it should be something that leads into the main part of the book. Ask yourself, do I really need to explain the backstory here, or could I wait until page 100? Yes, page 100. Move that stuff out of the first act entirely. Another thing that people look at is if you're in first person, the voice should be distinctive. If you're writing in first person and you don't have a distinctive voice, is there a way you can jazz it up, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit more exaggerated? In adult books, the default should be third person. In teen books, it's often first person, but you do need a distinctive voice. So try writing it as I have been doing. Try writing from both first and third and see which works better for you and which gets you closer into the character. So another thing to look at is your viewpoint. If you're using multiple points of view, you need a new chapter or at least a long space break in between. Don't head hop so that first we're in the jailer's head, and then we're in the prisoner's head, and then we're in the guy who comes with the food tray's head, all in one chapter, one right after another. It gets confusing, and we don't really know who we're supposed to focus on or who the star of this book is. Dialogue, if you are not having speech tags or some way of identifying who's talking every 3 exchanges or so, it can be confusing. So try using that talking head avoidance device that I talked about earlier. Hey, Kim. To see if you can have your character doing something while they're talking that will show what they're like and give some color to their personality. So it's not just he said, but he could be slamming down something on the counter. Look out for information dumps. Look out for showing, don't tell it, not telling. So to show your characters in action, you need to show their characteristics rather than telling the reader about them. Vary your sentence length and structure. There should be short sentences, long run-on ones. And check each verb. If you have a verb like he ran quickly, and so there's an adverb modifying it with that word that starts with an ly, adverbs are a sign that you need a stronger verb. So maybe instead of saying run quickly, he scurried or something like that. Be aware of the words and actions that you tend to overuse. My characters are always shaking their heads. So I found a blog post somebody had written about options for not having someone shake their head, for them to do something different. And so I kept that. And now when I am tempted to have somebody shake their head for the millionth time, I'll look at that and think, is there another way that they could do it? So mine are that characters are shrugging, they nod, they shake their heads all way too much. They're always turning to look at each other. And I overuse the word carefully for some reason. So another thing to look for is a sentence that starts with there was is not active and it doesn't draw you in. So I will just look to a search for sentences that start with there was. Like here's an example. There was a clear tracheotomy tube in the hollow of her throat held in place by white plastic bands versus white plastic bands held a clear tracheotomy tube in the hollow of her throat. If you're using I was with a being verb form, like I was leaning, maybe just I leaned. That's another thing to look for, is those was plus a being verb form. And I talked earlier about skipping the filter, but if you're using I knew, I saw, I thought, I wondered, I observed. A lot of times those can be cut and you can just say what it is that you're observing or thinking or knowing. So um, tomorrow I'm going to be doing and ask me anything. I see Stan has asked about deciding points of view to enhance the story. I think I'll hit that tomorrow. And so tune in tomorrow. I'll answer that. I'll answer anything else you guys want to ask here. And you guys have a good Friday. I am going to go walk to the post office and with a mask and gloves and mail some books to people. See you guys later. Bye-bye.